The Vikings sent us on an emotional roller coaster last night. A full recap of the victory in Chicago, plus Claire Stern on her decision to step away from Bison basketball. Hot Mike begins now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the When Did You Give Up edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL, good morning, everybody in Sioux Falls. KMBN in Western South Dakota. And Inforum.com. Happy Tuesday, everybody. A happier one for those that support the purple on what was a wild game in Chicago last night. Enough that I think Viking fans went through about 8 different stages of emotions, whether it was despair, anger, frustration, downright disappointment, to elation, excitement, disbelief, bewilderment. I could go on because that's what the football game had last night in Chicago. What a crazy game, which we're going to show you plenty of highlights here in a few minutes on what went down last night. That was the epitome of a roller coaster ride. There's no doubt from where that game was at 17-6, and I don't blame you. I don't know if you got so desperate you turned the Twins on. I don't know if they got that desperate because they played a baseball game last night as well. But I'm sure some just turned the TV off and said, I'm done. All right. Same old, same old. Quarterback's not ready. That's not going to be good. But for those that stuck it out, there's plenty of spiking the football around the water cooler in the offices today in the upper Midwest because that was a while, especially considering how Chicago looked for the first half of this game. And then it just completely flipped. And those are the kind of games last night when you get to October and November and you're potentially in playoff position, you look back and like, boy, that was a big one they got. That was one that they pulled out of despair and somehow won the football game. So just a wild, wild affair last night. We got a lot to get to on the show today. Looking forward to a big day for us on the television side to bring you some high school volleyball outdoors. Weather looks like it's going to be dynamite. We'll tell you all about that coming up later on in the show. But let's rock and roll from the highlights last night because there's plenty to show from Soldier Field in Chicago. The Bears opening up with the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy making his first NFL start. He had not started a game that had any relevance in over 600 days. That was the last time he had started a game when the Vikings played last night. The last time was the national championship game, January of 2024, when Michigan beat Washington. So, on to Soldier Field for the game last night, and it was a fabulous game for Chicago to start because the Vikings looked like they were sleepwalking early on. Caleb Williams looked like the Heisman Trophy winner that he was a couple of years ago. Takes off with his legs, gets into the end zone. He completed every pass he threw on the opening drive. Bears take an early lead. Minnesota just couldn't get out of its own way early on. McCarthy's throw here is low through the hands of Justin Jefferson. They have to settle for a field goal. It's 7-3. This is a dart to DJ Moore, who just brushes aside the Vikes secondary. Sets the Bears up for a Cairo Santos field goal after another brilliant throw. That one, they missed communication there, had to settle for 3. So it's 10-3 Chicago. Right before the half, finally the best offensive play of the half. McCarthy hits Jalen Naylor there. They rush out Will Reichard with 11 seconds to go in the half for a 59-yarder that he drills. Don't forget those three. The Vikes steal it, and it's a 10-6 Chicago lead going to the half. In the third quarter, here's where desperation hit. That ball picked off. Nashawn Wright. Why can't the Vikings find players like him? Returns it for a pick six, 74 yards. It's 17-6. It's a rout. Vikes couldn't do anything until they actually could. This is a great throw from JJ to JJ after the Vikes started running the football with Jordan Mason. Here on a third down, McCarthy waits it out, zings the fastball to Jefferson for the touchdown, and it's 17-12 after they miss the 2-point conversion. They get a 3-and-out. Vikes get the ball back. McCarthy with a beautiful throw to Aaron Jones for the touchdown. 27 yards out. The Vikings lead it at 18-17. How in the world do they have the lead? They have to go for two, and they convert. Again, look at this great throw from McCarthy. That's a tough catch, too, for a running back. Jones waited for it, gets in. So they line up for two. You see McCarthy, he wanted the ball badly, gets it to Thielen for the two-pointer. The Vikes lead it 20-17 with 9 minutes to go in the game. Vikes defense gets another stop. Then Vikes special teams, Eric Wilson playing for the injured Blake Cashman was fabulous. He blocks that, or at least tips it, and the Vikes get some outstanding field position, which they had basically for the entire second half. McCarthy had a couple completions. Then KOC decides to give McCarthy his own number. He runs it in for a touchdown from 14 yards out. The Minnesota Vikings are up 10 with 2 minutes and 53 seconds to go in the game. It's 27-17 Minnesota. Chicago drives down the field. Williams zings one to Rome Odunze for a touchdown, so they get within 3. On the ensuing kickoff, look at Ty Chandler staring at his sideline to bring the ball out, not to take a knee. Look at KOC saying, come on out, to drain the clock, because the Bears were out of timeouts, or they spent one on a fruitless challenge. The Vikes drained the clock. The Bears got it back with 9 seconds left. The lateral play never works. And the Minnesota Vikings rally and beat the Bears 27-24, the final. McCarthy, who was brutal to start, fantastic in the fourth quarter. 13-20 for a $143 and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Mason, who you didn't see, we'll feature that in a minute, goes for 68 yards on the ground. And the Minnesota Vikings go into Soldier Field and knock off the Bears in a game they had no business being in, down 17-6, and flip this game on its head. Afterwards, a very excited crew met with the media.
I'm so proud of our team. I'm proud of, I think days like this kind of affirm a lot of the things that, we really feel are important with our organization, from a standpoint of when things aren't going well, things aren't going your way. I thought the defense, battled and kept us in the football game. Special teams made some huge plays. Obviously Miles Price with some big returns. Will Reichert with, the field goal to give us a little bit of life there at the end of the first half. J.J. McCarthy, for him to make some of the plays he did, I told him at halftime, you are going to bring us back to win this game. And the look in his eye was fantastic. And the best thing is just the belief I felt from the team, the unit. And ultimately, that doesn't get done without him in the second half. 2 passing touchdowns and then the critical rushing touchdown, at the end.
Obviously, it's huge to come out of one of these games with a win. Divisional opponent, very tough opponent. I thought they did a tremendous job and played very hard and played well. Got to give a lot of credit to the defense. They bailed us out in that first half. They were throwing a lot of things at us defensively, and defense stuck in there, and especially on the special team side too. That field goal unit, that punt return unit, Jug. I think it was 119 all-purpose yards, and that's just tremendous from a young guy like that to step up. But there's a lot of things we got to clean up. Got to be better on third down, and we're on to Atlanta now. Feeding off the energy of my teammates and my coaches, helped me out tremendously. But at the end of the day, we're so blessed to be able to play this game. So every snap we get is a complete blessing, and that's something that I was mentioning to the guys in the huddle when we were down. Like, where else would you rather be? So I feel like we did a great job, and this team showed a lot of poise and responded very well.
Just you shake your head after how it started because he looked overwhelmed. He looked maybe underprepared, like maybe they should have played him more in the preseason, and it just flipped on a dime. And we didn't show it there, and we will here in a second. The Vikings defense needs all the credit in the world because Chicago with Ben Johnson, now the head coach of the Bears, the long-tenured offensive coordinator of the Lions, who Detroit averaged 29 points a game. They could do anything they wanted offensively. And early on, it looked like Chicago could do anything they wanted offensively. They're going up and down the field on the Vikings. And it just changed. Flores started blitzing later in the second quarter. And in the second half, that game completely flipped. That the Vikings got pressure. They flustered him. The Bears looked like a completely different team in the second half of that game. I think I heard Paul Allen on the radio broadcast last night. In the fourth quarter, the Vikings had 142 yards. The Bears had -1 up until that last flurry there that Chicago scored the touchdown on. That's a total defensive flip. They were really good, especially in the second half of that game. Also really good last night was the guy that they acquired early in the offseason from the San Francisco 49ers, running back Jordan Mason. He ran hard last night. The Vikes O-line, which was revamped, was really good in the second half. They created holes. Donovan Jackson, his first game, the guy they drafted in the first round, tremendous last night. Look at these holes that Mason had the burst that they didn't have to go to Aaron Jones every single time. And by product of that, then McCarthy got more comfortable. Zing that one to Hawkinson, who had a couple of nice catches in the second half. He was able to get into a rhythm that opened up the offense, which you just didn't see. And I mean, in those first few drives, it looked so clunky. And then get out of the pocket, the little swing pass there to Jones. He's wide open, picks up a first down. Everything just seemed to click after that. Another one here to Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson had one catch in the first half. It's not like he had a massive stat sheet last night. He had 4 for 44 with the touchdown. Just everything changed. And then this play call that came from Josh McCown, the QB coach, is what McCarthy was talking about after the game. Just a heck of a call there. And just flipped everything on its head. That's a big-time win. And it goes everywhere. You heard KOC mention Miles Price, who was returning punts, and every time he returned it, he went for positive yardage for a big-time return. Every time. Last night, Price had 4 punt returns for 68 yards. He averaged 17 yards a return. That's huge. Long of 22. You can't underscore that constantly he was putting the Vikes in good position. The Bears had some mind-numbing decisions last night, too. The field goal miss that Cairo Santos had from 50 yards out, that gave the Vikes some momentum as well. You can't underscore that. But score 21 fourth-quarter points is a monster comeback. In a road division game, to have that happen when you look completely overmatched, outclassed, that's impressive. And now they go back home. They got a Sunday nighter waiting for them for the home opener with Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta come into town on Sunday night. Big win for the Vikes. Fun to watch last night. That, again, like I mentioned off the top of the show, that was the roller coaster of emotions last night for Minnesota fans. And for Bears fans, just more misery. That's a tough one to wake up to today, considering how well they played in the first half. Caleb Williams finished 21 of 35 for 210 yards and a touchdown. Okay, he was sacked a couple times. The Vikes front seven really got going. My guy Van Ginkel was really good, nearly had a pick six last night. Can't underestimate how good that guy is. He started his career again at South Dakota. I shared a highlight of that, him sacking Carson Wentz in a game here at the Fargo-Dome 10 years ago before he went on and played at Wisconsin before he got drafted by the Dolphins. He's been a really good player since the Vikings signed him last year. Big win last night. Now, lost in that, the Twins played a game last night. I think Corey Provis was joking with me about this on Friday. Like, how many people actually going to be watching our broadcast with the Vikings game going on? I don't know if anybody bailed, but if you missed it, and I'm sure plenty of you did, to quote the late, great Bob Uecker from Major League, our guy Royce Lewis, after having a disaster first 4.5 months of the year, has been pretty darn good. Last night, playing back home, he's an L.A. kid in Anaheim. They're opening up a series with the Angels. Lewis was great in front of over 100 family members and friends. This a bomb to center field. The start of a big night for the Twins' third baseman. 2-run shot there. By the way, the Angels are still bad. Their record isn't as bad as the Twins. Here's another one from Lewis. Cracked that out in the fifth inning. His second home run of the game. Both 2-run shots. James Outman got into it in the sixth inning. This made it a 6-3 Twins lead. One other highlight I have to show, because this from Matt Wallner is hilarious, because the Angels right fielder, Matthew Lugo, went to the Dom Izzo School of Outfielding because he lost completely sight of the ball and ended up being a fair ball. It goes for a double for Wallner. Twins go on and clinch a 12-3 win. Break them up. They've won 2 in a row. Look out. They're 64-80 on the year. Big night for Lewis and for Luke Keeschall. Had 3 hits and a couple of RBIs last night in the victory. So, small things this time of year, but it's nice to see Lewis starting to come around. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs in the win last night. We got a packed show coming up for you here on this Tuesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Mike McFeely will join us at 9:35. Mike wrote a pretty neat column. We'll talk to him about comparing Nashville and Frisco. We chatted a little bit about it yesterday with Jeff Kolpak. We'll get into it more with Mike. He got a chance to go over to Vanderbilt and see the home of the Commodores and the home of the FCS championship game. So we'll get into that with Mike and a bunch more coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Claire Stern will join us. I hate to say former North Dakota State women's basketball player. If you missed the news late last week, Claire announced that she has to medically retire from playing basketball. She will tell us about that decision and what's ahead for her. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, Steve Laqua will join us, Dragonhead football coach, in his usual Tuesday time slot. MSUM is 2-0, won both games on the road to start the year, put up 51 against Southwest State on Saturday. They're back home for their home opener coming up on Saturday. We'll look forward to that with Coach Laqua coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a Victory Tuesday for Viking fans in the area. We're just getting started. We come back. We're heading outside, getting ready for the Landon's Light Volleyball Invitational. A look at what they're doing out in West Fargo. Back on Hot Mic here on a busy Tuesday right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Big day today out in West Fargo. The first Landon's Light Volleyball Invite is happening out at the Lights, and you can actually watch outdoor volleyball here on Extra coming up at 1:30 today. The first of 4 matches. Shanley and Davies will start things. That'll be followed by Horace and North at 3:30. Evening session begins at 5:30 with West Fargo and Moorhead, and then wrapped up with Cheyenne and South at 7:30. Now, if you missed our interview last week with Julie Christensen and Ryan Kill, they were in studio last Thursday, I want to say, to chat about this event. And we're bringing it to you starting later today. Yesterday, the court installation happened out in West Fargo, and our Cullen Holt was out there to get video of this going down. And for those that have been out at the Lights, they've had outdoor hockey out there. This is a a whole different deal with the installation. Deckmasters help install this 60 by 90 court, the whole 9 yards. And they're expecting a big crowd out there all day long. First, they were fingers crossed on the weather, and they're going to win out on that. So I know they're super excited about it. It's just, it's a different deal and exciting to see, and something different. You just don't expect volleyball played outdoors. We've seen it now a handful of times over the last couple of years, and as Ryan mentioned when he was here in studio with us to discuss the genesis of the idea came from him watching the Nebraska volleyball team play at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln with 90,000 fans there, as they did that, I think, now 3 years ago when that went down, was the genesis of this, and they've been hoping to do it, and now it's come to fruition. And with the teams that they have involved, and some of these were already scheduled games that they were going to have happen, that everybody wanted to get into it. And from what Ryan and Julie told me last week, that this is something they think can get even bigger. They'd like to maybe even include teams from out west to be involved in it. So the inaugural one gets going today, and obviously to shine a light on Landon Solberg, who would have been a senior at Cheyenne High School this year, which is just crazy to say that out loud. Passed away, was now 6 years ago, which is just wild. To benefit the Landon's Light Foundation, and it will be well received, especially in West Fargo, and have all the teams be playing out there. It's a really neat deal. So we're going to have all the matches today, and we'll give you the schedule again before we sign off on the show this morning. But beginning at 1:30, and what's nothing wrong with having live sporting events in the middle of the day. I always say that. On a Tuesday or a Wednesday, nothing better than having matinee sports. Doesn't matter what it is, and we got it coming up today. So it'll be tremendous going on out there. Looking forward to that. I believe Ryan McNamara will have our afternoon matches. Cullen Holt will have the evening matches coming up tonight from West Fargo. So looking forward to that coming up later. I have a few emails to get to from not only last night's game, a couple of Bison things as well that we didn't get into yesterday. This first one, Dom, no love for the Redhawks? You saw they won last night. I did see they won last night. Redhawks walked off Sioux Falls in Game 1 of their series. It's a best of 5 up at Newman Outdoor Field, so they're up 1-0. Game 2 is coming up tonight. I will say this, and this is no shot at the Hawks, that at this point, I mean, there was probably 500 people at the game last night, if that. Once we get school started, it just people don't go. And it's too bad because these are the most important games of the year. But I will reiterate what I've said for a long time about this. The Hawks are a great summertime diversion to get out and just enjoy it. There are a hardcore group of fans, and maybe it's the 500 that were at the game last night, that care about each and every result and stat and inning and pitch and home run. More power to you. I'm not here to judge on what you want to throw your support behind. But I'm here to tell you that it does not occupy a lot of, at least my time, because it's for me, and a lot of people, I think it's just a summertime diversion. And once you get, now when school starts, and it's evident by the people that were in the stands last night, that it's not that high of a priority. And it's, again, no shot to the players. Coast is one of my favorite people. It's just a matter of fact. You know, I'm looking in the box score, the game result that they send out email on this, and I appreciate it. They didn't list the amount of people there. There's probably a reason why on that. Again, no issue on that. But I appreciate the email there. Let's get a couple more in. Dom, will WDAY televise the banner raising on Saturday? That is our plan. We're waiting on the exact timing of that. We hit the air at 2:20 with our kickoff show. And last time they did it, which was 2021, I think it was 2:23. So that'll hit right in our window. So if we'll have it on for you. And if you're going to the game, want to see it, DVR it, you'll have it for you there. Set it for the program beforehand. And I understand if you're going to see your guide and say, well, it doesn't show the Bison game on there. The Bison game will be on Channel 6 this weekend. So no worry on that. Let's do a couple others here. Dom, are the Bison football games going to be televised on WDAY this year? Yes. I welcomed these emails last week because we didn't have the game. We will have the next two. Then the Illinois State game is exclusive on ESPN+. That's the Missouri Valley game of the week. Then the other game we can't televise is South Dakota State because ESPN has picked that up. Whether that's ESPN or ESPN2, we don't know yet. But that's the deal. So 8 of the last 10 that they have we'll have on WDAY. Illinois State and SDSU we will not have. Just the state of affairs on where we're at with the television contract there. We'd love to do them all, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case. Let's get one more in here. Dom, what time did you turn the game off last night? I didn't. I kept it on. I can't say that's probably the case for a lot of people. I'm sure my dad didn't make it to the end because he was thoroughly disgusted with what J.J. McCarthy was doing. I believe let me read the exact text I got. Let's see here. He doesn't look good at all. It's expert analysis there from my pops. Only you get that here on the show. But, again, quite the turnaround that he had in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. That was dynamite, what we saw last night. Let's do one more here before we go to break. Not that one. I think we read that one yesterday. I think we actually got them all in. That's good. I appreciate you guys emailing dizzo@wday.com. Eric asked about our under-over that we set last week. I have not checked, so I'll have to check out about the amount of phone calls we got. I know how many emails we got. That was 10. So if that correlates to any of the phone calls we got to the station, then we're going to hit the over pretty hard on that. So, and I understand. But just understand now that's the way we're going with how the games are broadcast. All right, we'll break. We come back. Our guy Mike McFeely will join me. He texted me. He's coming in hot. Looking forward to his conversation. We'll chat plenty on the trip to Nashville. Probably a little bit on the Vikes last night. Whatever else comes our way. That's coming up on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Back on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra right after this.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. 9:35 means our chat with Mike McFeely. We do it each and every week. Columnist from the Forum of Fargo-Moorhead who made his way over to Vanderbilt's campus. Now, the last I had communicated with you on this, you were given the big stiff arm. So did you communicate with some associates of ours to get in to Vanderbilt's campus?
Yes. a large fan of the show.
Yes.
And frankly, a large fan of me.
No doubt. Who isn't?
Tim Purden.
Yeah.
His daughter goes to Vanderbilt, so he knows some people in the athletic department.
That's awesome.
After I got the
stiff
arm from the Nashville,
you got the Heisman, no doubt.
So the people actually running the FCS championship game, the Nashville Sports Committee or whatever they are, they're like, nope, can't get you in the stadium. Nope, nobody available. We can do it by phone though. It's like, well, that doesn't do me much good.
Nope.
So I just went above their heads, and I'm done with them. Just bye. See you later. If you don't want to promote your game and help out the team that's won, or not the team, but the media market that covers the team that's won 10 of the last 14 titles and made Frisco into what Frisco is for this game.
Yep.
If you don't want to deal with us, okay, I'll just go above your head and go right to the athletic department and have the associate athletic director in charge of the actual stadium give me the tour. So thank you very much.
I had not asked you about it until and I didn't find out until we landed, and I saw your story. I'm like, oh, I guess he got in.
Yeah, you just got to know the right. It's not. I've told my daughter this she's 24 years, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
there's
So
no doubt.
yes, so I got the tour of Vanderbilt's First Bank Stadium.
So what do we think?
Oh, the stadium itself, the facilities is fantastic, and I've written it in a couple different columns that it's. We all love Frisco. It's what getting to Frisco is that's become the anthem of
phrase.
FCS football.
Yep.
And as I said, North Dakota State turned it into a thing by bringing 15,000 people down there the first couple of years they were down there. You and I both have a soft spot in our heart for Frisco. We like it. It's great. We got to know people. We got to know the lay of the land. We got to know some restaurants.
Certainly got to know some restaurants.
All of those things. But the Vanderbilt Stadium is terrific.
Yeah.
It's a real football stadium.
It's a football stadium. Yep.
And with the renovations and
turf.
It's turf. It's not grass, so we can stop that whole
debacle. We talk about that.
Of talking about that every year, whether it was a story or not. We still talked about it. And so it's that part of it's going to be great. The Vanderbilt campus is beautiful. Just the whole atmosphere. It's a college campus. It's not out in the middle of a field, which is basically what the Frisco Sports Complex is. It's out along the Dallas North Tollway, and it's just wide open spaces forever. And there's really no central area.
No.
Now, around the stadium, it's a college campus, so there's not stuff there. There's a couple of restaurants and bars. There are some real nice hotels within a block or two away from the stadium. But the action, like it is in Frisco, by the way, the action is 4 or 5 miles away, 3 or 4 miles away.
Broadway's a ways from the campus.
Yes, Broadway, I think, is 4 miles from the campus, which is it's not walkable. I guess you could.
Depends on how dedicated you are.
I ain't doing it. But you can Uber there for $5 or $10 or whatever it is. And so you experienced Broadway on Friday night a little bit.
A little bit.
And so that's just a whole different
scene, man. Yeah.
That's I have not been to Nashville before Friday and Saturday, and that was and I'm no prude. I've been around a little bit. I've enjoyed some things in life, and that was like, wow.
Yeah.
Holy man. Creepers.
Yeah, it was
a
bumping at
sensory
7 o'clock.
overload.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
And I was smart enough to get out of there by 10 o'clock or so. I was told I made a good decision. I didn't. Dave Sampson and I, the photographer from the Forum, were just walking around. I had a couple beers and saw some Bison fans. Large fans of my appearances on these shows.
Really?
Is
that right?
Every single person I talked to in the whatever the Bison party zone thing was.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
we appreciate them watching.
Yeah.
That's great.
I appreciate them appreciating me.
So I asked Kolpak this. I'll ask you because you wrote the story. Is the game ever going to go back to Frisco after seeing?
Oh, there's always the possibility.
Saw?
Yeah, yes, and there's always that possibility. I mean, it's a bidding process.
Yep.
And I think that it was Ty Halpin last year at the NCAA when I talked to him after their press conference down there. He said, I mean, they've kind of laid the red carpet out for us for 15 years here, and they've kind of made this game into what this game is.
Yep.
He goes, that has to count for something, doesn't it? So, I wouldn't say it's never going back, but it's going to be a different experience for whichever teams get down there. And right now it looks like there's about 4 teams, maybe 5 that have any chance at all of getting to Frisco. But it's going to be a different experience, and it's going to be just the stadium is just way nicer, and the new luxury boxes and stuff they have for the money people, whether it's from North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, whatever. Name the 4 schools that you think are going to go down there. That'll be
that'll be a nice experience
for them. Yes, that's not for Joe Schmo, but for those money people that matter to college athletics in 2025, especially. They always have,
but especially now. Yep.
With everything going on, they will really like the options they have.
See, there's 2 things you wrote in that stood out to me. One, and you're gonna roll your eyes, was the turf, because all right, that's been a deal in some games. It won't be now, and it's a football stadium. Like we've been shoehorned into a soccer stadium for being down there. That this is a football stadium. I wonder how big a deal that is to the NCAA. We're at a site we're at.
I mean, it's not like Toyota Stadium has worked.
Yep.
It's
It did.
what 19,000 maximum now that they put the soccer Hall of Fame on the south end. But it's an enclosed, all the way enclosed stadium, so there's no stage on one end, which is kind of a nice thing at the end of the game for the bands, quite frankly, during the game. But the Frisco it's a soccer stadium, so it's very much a gradual grade down to from the top row down to the field.
Yep.
And this has a couple of decks on it.
I was gonna say there's an upper deck. To the stadium.
And so there's not a bad seat in Frisco. There isn't.
No.
I mean, I've walked around the whole stadium during the game and sat in different places, and there's no. You can see the game well from
pretty good,
and you feel like you're fairly close
Yes.
everywhere in that stadium. It's not going to be the same at Vanderbilt.
Did you try leaping over the railing like Bison fans have leapt over the railing in Frisco to recreate that?
I did not. I really did not. We'll see. They have ways to get onto the field. Maybe they don't want people on the field.
Yeah. Well, they don't let
Vanderbilt.
them on the field in SEC games. You get a
fined.
heavy fine for that. So.
And the tailgating thing is going to be interesting too, because
That was
again,
my last question
as I wrote, around Frisco is just wide open parking lots, and so the tailgating and the pregame stuff is really easy. There's really not much of that. This is kind of shoehorned in next to some other. The baseball field is like right up next to it. The basketball arena is right up next to it. There's a couple of parking ramps that are really close, but that's not, you don't tailgate in a parking ramp.
No.
I asked that question to the person who actually found the time to give me a tour and actually was interested in promoting the stadium. And he said, well, he goes, there's plenty of surface, they call it surface parking. There's plenty of surface parking.
Okay.
He goes, we'll work with the company that we contract with for our parking lots to make sure everybody has enough room to tailgate, but it's not going to be right at the stadium.
Okay. That'll be different.
Yeah.
That'll be different for we expect the teams that we're expecting to get down there. I'll save that for our next segment. The whole Nashville experience, you mentioned we were out Friday night for a bit. The game itself was what we thought it was going to be.
I think even worse.
Yeah, it might have been. Was it worth the trip, like for NDSU to go and do this?
Yeah, they kept saying 10,000 people.
There
wasn't even close to 10,000 people.
Nope.
I went back and watched some of the TV replay, and I kept getting text messages during the game going, my God, is there anybody there?
Yeah.
I mean, and when they did a wide shot, it looked
empty.
Not good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and there was probably, I know. I was told the turnstile count was 5,000. And so they announced 8,300, but I was told
sold,
by somebody who would know that the turnstile count was 5,000 and 4,000. I in my column I said 4,500.
That's probably about right.
I think more like 4,900 because there was nobody from Tennessee State.
Nope.
Nobody.
No.
The band and the
That
band
was it.
and the band was half. I was told of what it normally is because they're not required to go, and so it was kind of rainy and they don't care. So like half the band showed up.
Tennessee State is bad. That's a bad outfit.
Yeah, and we can maybe get into this in the next segment, but I think that's an extreme case, or maybe a more normal case now of what a lot of FCS programs are going to be going forward. It just how do you replace 80-some bodies? And that was a bad college football team.
Yep.
And they're not the only one. There's
unfortunately there's a bunch.
As usual, there's people chirping about. It's like, you know what? Look around. Frankly, the team that was in Grand Forks on Saturday was god awful.
I said they were the worst team in FCS.
Portland State was god.
Yeah, they're terrible
awful.
too.
They have no chance.
No,
they have no chance going forward, and neither does Tennessee State, in my view. I just don't know how you compete at all. You
don't. Yeah, you just don't. Let's break. We'll save more of that when we come back on the status of where FCS and the group of 6 schools are right now. Back with Mike. We wrap up our first hour right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Steve Laqua going to join us in about 40 minutes. Dragons are rolling 2-0, home opener this weekend.
Against Winona State, the hated Warriors.
Winona's been a thorn in their side for the Dragons over the last few years. So we'll see.
It's the NSIC, baby. You never know. Other than Mankato State, you just never know. I see Bemidji State has already lost.
They have.
Duluth has already lost, and so we'll see what happens.
Might be open a little bit.
We'll see. Crack it open.
Email comes in. Don, we heard what you thought of the South Dakota schools. We get Mike's thoughts on what we saw from the teams in South Dakota this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch much of the Montana State, South Dakota State game, but from what I've read and what everybody's told me who did see it, South Dakota State looks really good defensively, legit offensively, still kind of clunky. And I
agree with that.
So we'll see. Chase Mason's fine. I don't know that he is the greatest athlete in the history of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, as he was touted by some. But they're fine. I mean, it's right now. It's Montana, and Montana State could have easily won the game.
Yes.
So it's, right now it's a 3-horse race, I would say, in FCS. And we'll see if that changes. South Dakota's
got some issues.
I did get a chance to watch a lot of the Iowa State South Dakota game, and I did get a chance to watch a lot of the South Dakota Lamar game.
Good for you.
And and I made this case last week or the week prior about I don't think you can lose 55-7 and just go, oh well, no big deal.
I agree. Yep.
I mean, Iowa State's really good, but they're not like Oregon good, like
Montana State.
You could look at Montana State and go, it's not a good look, and that you got to play better than that. But
it's Oregon.
I mean, it's Oregon.
Yep.
I think Oregon is literally a professional football team. I mean, literally, they can go out and buy players, and Iowa State's not in that boat.
They're not there yet,
quite yet.
No.
So I don't think you can look at the Iowa State South Dakota game and just shrug it off and say that's what should happen. It's like, no, it shouldn't. The Lamar South Dakota game, you can't shrug that off. I don't know but they just looked listless, and the lines of scrimmage just, to me, again, not a coach, not some guy breaking down film, but to me, the lines of scrimmage for South Dakota looked nothing like they have been the past couple of years. I mean, I thought Lamar was moving South Dakota's defensive line, and I thought that Lamar was getting pressure on Bauman and not really allowing much of a running game, other than some runs by Charles Pierre Jr. early. I thought that Lamar's defensive line held up just fine and was pressuring Bauman sometimes with the 4-man pass rush.
Yeah. Think about that.
I mean, so not a coach.
Yeah.
Don't know what I'm looking at, but I know when I see a defensive line get moved 3 yards. That's not on every play, but on some plays, and that's not a good sign.
No, and this is reflective, I think. I know you mentioned this to me over the weekend, that you look at FCS football, I look at Group of 6 football. There's a lot of bad teams, it looks like, right now.
And again, I mean, let's
we're 2 weeks in. I get it.
We're 2 weeks in, and all these teams, or many of these teams have a whole bunch of new players, and so maybe it takes a while to get gelled together, and the South Dakota team that comes up here in a couple of weeks might look entirely different than it did on Saturday. But it's hard to shrug off a loss to Lamar. It's hard to say no big deal. So we'll see where everybody is.
Disconcerting for South Dakota.
The only thing that matters is the Valley season. That's all that matters. All this other stuff is just
right.
I think you can take some takeaways. You can look at UND and go, well, I think they're better than we thought they were going to be.
Yep.
And coaching makes a difference. If South Dakota looked, I thought, listless against Lamar. You watch South or North Dakota, they just have a different.
There's different energy there.
There's different energy there, and there's no doubt about that. They just look.
Quarterback's been good too.
Way more organized and way more just in the right places, and just way more. I don't know if they're playing harder, but it sure looks like it. They're just more juice there. And with largely the same cast as a year ago, he's added some transfers. Schmidt's added some transfers, but they just have a different look with the coaching staff they have, and I think different expectations, and all of that makes a difference.
Just one last point on the South Dakota schools before we move on, because South Dakota State has Drake and Mercyhurst the next 2 weeks. The Coyotes have Northern Colorado and Drake. Yeah. So we're not going to know anything about them. I don't in my opinion, over the next 2 weeks.
For South Dakota State, tip of the cap.
Absolutely.
I figured they were going to be 1-1 after.
I think everybody
games.
did. Yeah, I did.
And they again, they're
2-0. Yep.
But let me make this clear. They're not as good as they have been the past couple of years.
Correct.
But in FCS, and because they're South Dakota State, they're fine for what's there and what they need to be right now. And they're, you can't replace whatever 30 guys they lost.
No.
But they've done enough, and they had enough kids coming up that they'll be fine.
I got an email on this, and I was going to ask you before we go. Late last week, the NCAA announced that the portal window is going to move and shrink.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing for FCS schools, or does it not really matter in the current landscape?
I think it's going to. I think it's going to help FCS schools because that spring window
it's just killer.
It's just.
Yep.
I mean, these big time schools are just watching spring practice, going, "Okay, we'll take that kid, and that kid."
Yep.
I mean, look at NDSU.
Correct.
And, they're not the only one, but we've said it before. Put Cody Heisman and Marty Brown on this NDSU team, and it's I don't know that it's necessarily close this year in FCS. Now I think it is. Without those two guys, we'll see, and we'll see how everything works out. NDSU has not been tested by anything. The two teams they've played have been bad.
Yep.
The Citadel was way better than Tennessee State, but they were not. They're not going to win a conference title either.
Well, they might in the SoCon. The SoCon's bad.
Well, and that's you. And I tweeted this out yesterday, one of my rare tweets. I've watched a lot of G6 football sitting in hotel rooms in Charleston and Nashville and in my living room as well. But the transfer portal thing is devastating G6 football too. San Diego, I watched San Diego State, Washington State when I got home from Nashville on Saturday night. San Diego State's bad.
Yeah.
Just bad.
And they lost a ton of guys, too.
Scrapers.
And, Washington State brought in 30
Jackrabbits.
to
Washington
their
State
team,
is no great shakes either. But, I mean,
well, Marshall lost to Missouri State.
And Marshall, which was a 10-3 team last year and good, lost everybody, and they lost to Missouri freaking State. I mean, it's just G6 football. And Marshall has a great tradition of football.
Correct.
And they care about football, and they won the Sun Belt last year.
Correct.
And they lost to Missouri freaking State.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's just something's got to happen.
And the Mountain West is not good.
The Mountain West, from top to bottom,
is we've bad. We've kind of rallied behind. It's pretty good football. Wyoming's
Colorado
bad.
State. Colorado State should have lost to Northern
Colorado,
who hasn't won a game in 32 years. I mean, my God. I mean, it's so. Here's. Let me wrap it up with this because I'm always going to go back to this. For any of you jamokes who sit there and go, "Oh, NDSU would only finish 5-7 in the FBS," they would win the Mountain West. Them and Boise State, NDSU and Boise State would battle it out in the Mountain West, and NDSU would have no problem. I should say no problem. They would strongly compete and pound, frankly, as would South Dakota State, as would Montana State. Montana, who knows on them, but it's if you think that somehow NDSU couldn't compete in the G6, watch the games.
Yeah, pay attention.
Watch the games that are on television and go, okay, maybe they're not that great, especially now. You can't keep anybody. No, nobody. The G6, you can't keep anybody there.
Nope.
If there's a kid in wherever, San Jose, that can play. He ain't staying in San Jose. They have zero NIL. San Diego State has this many NIL dollars, and their facilities are crap. Mm-hmm. It's in a great location.
Yeah, you're in San Jose, California.
It's not a great football program.
Nope. Ensis team is 2-1, by the way.
Yeah,
Fresno they knocked off Oregon State on the road.
Speaking of a team that has just fallen off, the Oregon State's off, and they were good. They were a good G5 program. They are terrible now in this new world.
And with that,
watch the
games is right. Yes, exactly. Good stuff as always, bud. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Saturday. Mike McFeely joining us each and every Tuesday at 9:35. We'll break. Come
White
back.
Uniforms. Very excited.
I didn't say anything about
White uniforms.
Hour 2 coming up. Claire Stern on her decision to step away from Bison basketball. Coming up, we come back.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on this Tuesday morning, ready to rock and roll. Dragon head football coach Steve Laqua will join us about a half hour after MSUM's big win, 2-0 for the first time in 10 years. We shared the story late last week that came out. Our next guest for North Dakota State women's basketball player Claire Stern had to announce that she has to medically retire from the game after spending this past season with the Bison. Really started to turn into a really, really nice player at the end of last year, part of the Bison run to the WNIT quarterfinals. If you missed the story I did last March on Claire, it's already been a journey for her anyway, that she came back from 3 broken bones in her back in high school to come back and play Division I basketball, and now has to stop playing. And she joins us here this morning to chat about what happened and what's going on. And I've mentioned this off air. First off, thanks for doing this, that I hate that we're doing this. So give us the story. What happened and what's going on?
Yeah, so all of this happened in June of this year. I ended up going to the emergency room one random night because I hadn't been feeling good for the past couple of days. And then that same night that we went in, I thought I had just passed out for no reason. So a lot of strange stuff that was happening. So my mom was like, we should take you in. Like, you want to be cautious about this. So we ended up going into the North Memorial Hospital, Maple Grove. None of the doctors there really know what was happening in the big picture. But after doing some of their tests, found out that I was having some pretty severe cardiac events. And the result of their tests were showing heart attacks. They don't really know if that was exactly what it was, but all of their tests were showing that. So after I ended up having 5 of those total in that night.
Holy cow.
1 of them at my house, 1 of them waiting in the emergency room to go in, and then 3 when I was back in the room. So a pretty scary night. And then after I was stabilized, they took me in an ambulance to the University of Minnesota Fairview because they were going to be able to treat me and have better care there. So I spent 2 weeks in the cardiac ICU unit there. I had several tests, blood tests, muscle biopsy, genetic testing. I got a heart biopsy. I think I saw every doctor in that hospital. And so after all of that testing, they discovered that I had a super rare gene mutation called PPA2 gene mutation, which causes cardiomyopathy and is a part of mitochondrial disease. And because of all that, I had to get surgery to get a defibrillator put in as well. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Like, so when you're at the hospital, are you losing consciousness each time that happened?
Yeah, I would go unconscious, so I didn't remember it. I would remember like a strange feeling before one of them happened, and then waking up just kind of terrified because I had no idea what had just happened.
And this was just completely out of the blue?
Yeah, it was.
Man. So was there any physical exertion that was happening before the first instant, or was that just it just happened to pop up and occurred?
Yeah. So I was laying on my couch watching a movie with my boyfriend the night that it happened. I mean, I had been training for stuff before that because it was May, so we were training to come back to summer workouts, but nothing was happening the moment before the time happened.
That's unbelievable. So you're there. You said 2 weeks you had to be at the hospital?
Yeah, I was in the ICU unit, so high intensive care, yeah.
So, I mean, you've already spent more than the lion's share of time in hospitals prior to this. Just, I can't imagine how scared you were, like, because they're doing these tests. Can you describe emotionally what that was like and mentally to deal with that?
Yeah, it was really hard, not knowing for so long. I mean, we didn't find out until the end of the 2 weeks. So we were there for 2 weeks doing all these tests, and they had no idea really what was happening. So it was really scary, just, because I'm still thinking in my mind at this point, like, I'm missing basketball. Like, I have to get back up to basketball, not knowing what the big picture was. So it was really hard to emotionally deal with.
So they have to put a defibrillator in. I mean, at that point, are you talking with the doctors about long-term, or when did that conversation happen?
Yeah, I would say it probably happened about a week and a half in when they still didn't really know. My head cardiologist, she is amazing. She came in and sat me down and was like, you're not going to be able to play basketball anymore. Like, we don't know what's going on in the big picture, but like your heart isn't strong enough. My heart function at that point was at 20%. So she was like, you're just not going to be able to play at that high of a level again.
I can't even imagine, but I'll ask, what was the reaction when you heard that?
I was devastated. I mean, I've been playing basketball since I was in kindergarten, and it was always my dream to be a college basketball player. So hearing that, it's really hard to comprehend when it's something so sudden, and something that I mean, I knew basketball would come to an end eventually, but I wasn't expecting it to be this early in my career.
And you wanted to be on your terms when you were ready to be done.
Exactly. I wanted to feel like I played my last game and did my last practice and I was proud of all of it, and not like this.
So that happens. I mean, I'm sure you probably haven't even come to grips with it yet, but you have to call Jory. Or just tell me on that part of it. When did you even reach out to your teammates, to your coaches, that this is what's going on?
Yeah. So Jory actually surprised me in the hospital. After I was in there, I think it was like pretty recent after the doctor told me I wouldn't be able to play basketball anymore. So he came around that time. I was really surprised to see him because they were doing summer workouts and everything, but I was really grateful when I saw a familiar face walk in. But it was really hard to tell him that I wouldn't be able to play, especially since I was planning on playing my rest of my career for him as a Bison. And it was just so sudden that no one expected it. So it was really hard to tell him. Telling my teammates, that was probably more hard.
Yeah.
They were all super supportive of me on the court when I was playing last year and always encouraging me as a freshman. And, they were supportive of me now facing some medical stuff. We're super close group up here, and they've truly become like my family. So I think it was really hard to know I wouldn't be able to play with them anymore. But
talking about basketball almost seems like second, like it's not even a big deal because we're worried about your health. So let me just ask how are you health-wise now?
I'm doing good. I'm on a decent amount of medications to help support my heart and my mitochondria. But other than that, like I'm doing in cardio rehab. So I'm working back up all of that stuff. I'm going to start jogging soon, which is crazy to think about that I can't do that anymore. And start building some more strength. But other than that, like my health wise, I feel really good.
Do you get winded easy? Is that like even like walking? Is that become a chore now?
I used to. When I first got out of the hospital, would walk up and down my street, and I was like, I'm exhausted. Like I can't, which is just so crazy to go from one extreme to the other. But I've been working it back up. I mean, I walk every day. They have me walking at inclines at different intervals. So I've definitely worked that stamina back up. I'm definitely not where I used to be, but getting more in shape, which is helping me feel better.
Claire, is this something that the doctors told you that you'll have to live with the rest of your life, that this is not going to go away?
Yeah, it was, I actually had it when I was born. Wow. And normally with this type of disease, they lose them as babies unexpectedly. So, wow. I mean, I'm very, very grateful to be to this point in my life. And I'm very grateful that I made it past that night and I'm still here. So,
yeah. You just think about that. I mean, everything else just seems not important, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That is wild. Wild. It seems frivolous to ask about anything other, basketball related, but this is what you've done your whole life. To have it, to not be able to do it, I can't even imagine what your emotions are with that.
Yeah, it's very hard.
When you found out, you told your teammates, what was the reaction there? Because I know you put out that you're still going to be involved with the team. Tell us about that, about still being connected even though you can't play.
Yeah, I'm super grateful that I still get to be a part of it. I'm super thankful for the coaches that they're wanting me to still be a part of it at such a high level. So I can still do all of the fun things like travel with the team. I go to all the practices, help out with the drills when I can. Obviously I can't do much, but when I can, I do. And I just sit on the bench and cheer for all of them. And then I'm also adding kind of a coaching aspect, if you will. I'm learning how to cut and stat the film for the practices to help out that way. I get to help, if I have to remind my teammate of something that maybe a coach necessarily doesn't have to, I can. And also if I have any ideas, the coaches were like, come bring it to us and, we'll help think about it. So that's really exciting that I still get to be a part of basketball and think about it on that level too.
I had a lot of people reach out to me that didn't know your backstory when we did the story, when we talked in March of what you what you dealt with there in high school. To go through that, come back, play Division I like you always wanted to, and have this, I don't even know how to ask, but the emotions of that has got to be completely unfair.
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of emotions that come with it. During my time in the back brace, I would say it really made me realize how grateful I was to be able to play basketball. And throughout that whole time, I was so excited for the day I would get it off and be able to play again. And I think to now have it taken away permanently, it's really devastating and kind of hard for me to comprehend. I still get emotional sometimes talking about it because of how, fresh it is. So I would say it's very hard to think about it that way. But I mean, because of all this is kind of a positive note on it. I've been kind of inspired to create a nonprofit organization that helps people like understand what the gene mutations are, like not just mine specifically because it's so rare, but so many of them, help people understand how to live with it, and also help people like discover the diagnosis of it sooner, because it should never have came to this point. But yeah, so it's called Rare DNA Foundation. It's still really early in the works, but it's something I'm looking forward to.
That's good for you on that. And that's a way to somehow to take a positive spin on something really, really difficult. And there's no shame in being emotional on it, because even talking to you, I can hear it in your voice, and it's hard not to be, frankly, considering it's just unfair. But as you mentioned, the fact that you've been able to live your life as much as you have, when some have not been able to survive, frankly, out of infancy, is stunning in its own right. And it seems frivolous to talk about basketball, but I remember when we talked when you committed, of how much NDSU stood behind you because you couldn't play. You were out. You couldn't play because of your back injury. The fact that you had a chance to do it, you look back at it. Can you go back and watch clips, or is it too painful to watch you playing last year?
Yeah, I haven't yet. I've looked at some pictures, which, I got a little emotional looking at that, especially the ones with Marissa, because we're so close and we've enjoyed playing with each other. But yeah, I think it'll be, all the emotions will get brought up again when games start, just because, I wish I could be out there with them. But yeah. That was
my next question, just of when practice starts in a couple weeks, or that first game, what do you think is going to go through your mind?
I think I'm really going to miss it. I think it's going to be hard for me emotionally to stand there. I mean, I love my team, and I'm so grateful that I can be standing there watching the practices, but I think we all know that I would want to be out there playing. So that's definitely difficult. But yeah, I think my team will be there to help support me throughout it, and same with my coach. And I think they all understand that it will be a difficult time, but one that I'll be able to get past and start being positive about it.
I have to imagine once this story got public last week, what's the outreach been, just not only from your teammates, but other students, maybe other athletes at school? What's the last few days been like for you?
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. I mean, there's a lot of people that have reached out from NDSU up here, people that I don't even think I necessarily knew, but they knew me. They're like, we're so sorry to hear. And people from my high school. So there's been a lot of support throughout this, which, I mean, really encourages me to keep going in a positive way. And I really hope that I can help impact people in a good way. Maybe someone that, can't play basketball anymore, not because of a serious heart issue, but for other reasons. Like, they can see that there's other things you can do and everything will be okay.
I really appreciate you sharing this. I know this has got to be really, really difficult, and I can't thank you enough for doing this. My last thing, just when you're sitting in the hospital, I mean, I have to imagine, are you fearing the worst, that you may not leave the hospital?
Yeah, for sure. I tried hard not to think about it when I first got there, but it was really crazy. I don't remember a lot from that night, but one moment that kind of stuck with me is a super young nurse came in and was like, so if something were to happen, do you want us to try and bring you back to life? And I was just sitting there, not knowing what's going on. I was yeah, please. Wow. It was crazy. So I think that's one of the moments that stuck with me. I don't know why, but that's really when I started to realize, like, like there's something big going on here. It's not just a little thing. But my mom, bless her, she stayed with me the entire time I was in the hospital. She spent every night with me. My dad came and visited, my sisters came and visited, all my friends did. I think that helped me stay pretty encouraged throughout it.
That's an amazing story. And you left me speechless, which is hard to do because if anybody knows me on that, I really appreciate you doing this. I'm so sorry that you had to endure that. We're more than excited that you're doing better and on the mend, and we can't wait to see you be on the bench this year, but we're going to miss seeing you play. But thanks so much for doing this. Be well. Tell how your family I said hello, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, thank you for having me.
Claire Stern joining us, former NDSU women's basketball player. Holy cow, what a story. And, I had heard part of it. I had not heard the full story until she shared it there with us. And that makes, anything we kind of talk about pretty much puts it into focus. I mean, that's life and death there, folks. I mean, you heard her say it. If the nurse was asking her to bring her back, that puts things into perspective about what we yell about or complain about on this show on a daily basis. That's real life there. And it's completely unfair for a young woman to have a chance to come back from a pretty serious back injury and then have it be stopped. That's too bad. It really is. It's unfair. It's the best word I can find to describe it. And we appreciate her doing that. I know that couldn't have been easy for her to share her story here this morning, but hopefully what comes of it is something that is positive. Appreciate her time. All right, we'll break here. Back on Hot Mic right after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Claire Stern. If you missed that, we'll podcast it later. Really good stuff on a completely unfair medical diagnosis of a heart disease that she has that will prevent her from playing basketball anymore. Appreciate her time and her openness on sharing something really personal there that transpired this summer. And I had caught wind of it in late August. The Bison women's basketball team announced they had added another player to the roster, and I had reached out to a couple sources that I have on, I didn't know that they were going to add, and I found out that Claire was not going to play, and waited till she was ready to chat about it. That's not a story you want to be out in front of. You want to have the person tell it. That's their story to tell, if that makes sense. And then she was gracious enough to give us a bunch of her time here this morning to share what went down. And it was even more harrowing than we had even, at least for me, had even known. Did not know 2-week stay in the hospital, did not know anything of losing consciousness, all of that. That was all brand new information. And that all of you could see my facial reactions as she was telling it just were a lot. It's a lot to take in for someone, anybody of any age, but certainly that young to go through that. That's a lot there. Appreciate her time. Let's get a couple emails in here before we get Coach Laqua in. Early betting line is in. Remember, you can legally bet in Montana. They've got it set UND plus 3.5 heading to Missoula this weekend. That's interesting. Only 3.5 point favorite is Montana at home against UND. Grizz, remember, opened up. They played Central Washington and won convincingly. And UND, as we talked about in our first hour, has looked good. They looked really good against Kansas State, and they did what they needed to do against Portland State. Now it's another jumping competition. Again, it's hard to judge what they've done because they played a Power 4 team, and then they played the worst team in FCS. Tennessee State may have an argument with that, but Portland State's bad. And now they're going to play a top 5 team on the road in one of the toughest environments we have in college football. Montana State is a 28.5 point favorite against San Diego. That's who the Cats have in Bozeman this week. San Diego's coming off a big win. They knocked off Southern Utah this past week. So give it up for the Toreros. The fight for the Pioneer Football League Championship, something we wouldn't pay attention to normally, is underway because St. Thomas we're going to see them at the end of the regular season. We'll see how they fare. Remember, they're playoff eligible now, is St. Thomas. who already beat Lindenwood, a team they lost by 60. That was their first win over a scholarship program. St. Thomas had not beaten a scholarship team prior to that. So that was a big deal. And then they scared the heck out of Idaho last week. That was a score I saw when we got back to Fargo on Saturday night. I'm like, all right, that was not what I expected out of that game in Moscow on Saturday. So we'll see old Glenn Caruso's team. Now they play another D2 this week. They're going to, well, the Dragons were. They're going to Northern Michigan, which they should. Northern Michigan, again, has not won a football game in 3 years. So St. Thomas should win, and then they start their league play, which now suddenly might get a lot harder because Presbyterian's out there winning 2 games against SoCon schools. Those are scholarship teams. Again, they're non-scholarship. And, of course, they end the regular season playing the Bison. Something to keep our eyes on with going forward over the next few weeks. We'll break. We come back. Steve Laqua will join us. Dragons are red hot. They're 2-0 for the first time in 10 years. They got the player maybe of the year in Division II. It's early to say that. Back on Hot Mic after this. Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning show, final half hour. Get you more info on the Landon's Light Volleyball invite that gets going later today out in West Fargo. You'll see all 4 matches live here on Extra. We'll give you the details on that before we wrap up. But we have our usual guest at 10:35. Steve Laqua joins us, head coach at Minnesota State University Moorhead. The Dragons are 2-0 for the first time in a decade after a 51-3 win at Southwest Minnesota State. His quarterback was named the NSIC Offensive Player of the Week. You got to be all smiles in the office today, right?
Well, we're probably smiles a couple days ago. We're already on the next one, so there's not a lot of smiling when you're looking ahead to the one we got. But definitely thinking back to Saturday, a lot of smiles. In the sense the guys came out, they played really well. They started fast like we wanted them to. We got a lot of guys in the game, which, you know, I've said it a lot of times in the past, but winning begets winning, and so. And you rest guys, you start to develop your next kind of line of players. I mean, we played Jack one half of football, so we got the second half all more quarterback development. So it was, I mean, overall it was a great day for the Dragon football program.
I got to ask about going 2-0 and winning both on the road. That has not happened in recent years in Dragon football. Just describe the ability to go and take care of business in 2 spots that you needed to do that.
Well, I've learned over the years that no wins are easy wins. There's, you know, everything is a battle, and everybody's competitors out there at this to be great. And so to go on the road and sitting on a bus for 4 hours, you know, before you get off and play a game, or to drive 9.5 hours and be in a place that's loud and raucous and be down and be able to have some grittiness and some fortitude to come back. Like, those things are big. They're important. I really appreciate that our guys they work hard and they believe in each other. And so it's nice to have the late ride homes. They're after wins. Those are a lot more enjoyable. But that's nice for everybody.
Let's talk about one of your tight ends. Gavin Lill got his first 2 receptions. Both were touchdowns. Can you describe this guy and being now one of the guys that Jack Strand looks for?
Yeah, somebody said we had a MSUM, so that was good. Gavin's a tremendous player. You know, we got him going, and I think he had 3 catches. The first one, he gets on the over route and kind of trucks the tackler and gets an extra 4 yards. And Gavin's a real physical player. And, you know, we schemed something up and we got a busted coverage. And you can see his speed. You can see why he was one of the top 100 meter runners in his senior year of high school. Now, that was probably about 40 pounds ago, but he still showed it and ran away from the DBs and scored. And so a couple touchdowns under his belt. He's a guy that's coming along nicely 2 games in, because he transitioned from running back in high school. We had him at wide receiver last year, and then through the spring, we transitioned him to tight end. So he's still a newbie figuring it out, and he's doing a great job.
When you have the conversation with Jack at halftime, is there any resistance? Hey, I want to stay in, or hey, you're done. We're good. We've got this. Can you take us into that conversation with your quarterback?
Well, he was good about it, in the sense of, if we got the stop, we were going to pull him out. We were on defense first. If we gave up a touchdown, we were going to keep him in. So he knew it was kind of an either way deal, but I think our guys see the big picture. And I talked about it at halftime. I said it's important for the starters to come out and let's have a great first couple drives, because we owe it as a group to the rest of this team to not mess around, not lose focus, get this game taken care of so that all these other guys can get in the games. They work hard. Let's give them the opportunity to get game reps, to get better. And I thought our guys did a great job in business like that, of coming out and just taking care of it right out the gate. And we got a lot of great reps in the second half for a lot of guys that don't get to play a bunch.
You mentioned it's a nice victory ride back home. Describe that that's a place you and I talked about, I think, last week. Marshall hasn't always been kind to the Dragons, that to go in a spot where you haven't really had a lot of success and go and get a win.
No, SMSU's given us fits at home and on the road over the years, and there's been a lot of heartbreakers. And so to go in and to get it's special. I still appreciate it. It's not like because you win the last few against this team and maybe handily you take it for granted. Like, you know what? I think they're the only team that's got less scholarships than us in that NSIC, and so I can respect the challenges that our guys are doing and they're developing. And so I think there's a lot of appreciation for what we're doing and for what the guys are buying into and working hard towards.
All right, so now it's the home opener. It has to feel like it's been forever since you played a football game in your own place. That's what happens when you have two consecutive games on the road. Describe now, there's different, I don't know if distractions is the right word. Coaches love to use that. But what surrounds playing at home that you don't have the challenges of when you go and play on the road?
Well, sometimes, as bad as being on the road in a bus trip is, it does force some silence, some quiet time where you don't have TV distraction. I get you've got phones and whatever, but it's a group time together. And so you don't get that as much because you go home for a while, then you come back in here. The nice thing, we play noon kickoff. So it's, hey, you're in, walk through, eat, and let's go. It's time after it. And so that's hopefully keeps the attention span on the game and not distracted. Obviously we have a great traveling group of parents that come to all games. And so I don't know that there's a difference at home or the road. We travel well, so I don't think there's this added pressure. We got these extra people we have to impress. I think our guys are mostly looking at it. This is a team that took us to the woodshed and beat us 33-6 last year. This was in a game that we felt we underperformed, and they stuck it to us in all phases, and we've got to be a heck of a lot better because it was an embarrassing Saturday for us.
I was going to ask about that. Winona has always been kind of that bugaboo. They've just been a team you haven't been able to get over the hump. What is it about them that's provided outside of the fact they have really good players, that's been an issue for your team?
Well, they're a really good football program with a great tradition. I mean, they've been traditionally at the top of the NSIC. They've built a program that's been really solid. And so, we've only gotten them 2 times, I think, since 2016. Our guys have understand that, hey, you know what, if we want to become a team that's respected consistently year in and year out, you've got to win these games. You can't be close. You can't say, oh, we've competed with them. Like, you have to start winning games against teams that everybody views as better than you. And so those moments that we're going to have to go out and prove that.
You got to try and light up that new scoreboard you got. Describe that, of having that over there for fans to check out for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting, not just what's going to be there, but I think there's a lot of belief in our program, and to have donors step up and want to do that because we're doing on and off the field, I think is an awesome thing. And so that I'm excited about. I think that's going to be great. It's also nice when the play's done to be able to look over there and get a quick view of, hey, what really, especially if it's a potential challenge. I want to try and see that as fast as I can. And so there's some great advantages, hopefully, that we can get over the years from it.
You mentioned you got to play some guys. Pelican Rapids, Timmy Guler got in as your backup quarterback. What'd you see out of him for the first real game action that he got a chance to play on Saturday?
Well, we've always felt that Timmy's kind of a gamer, and he got in the game and he was balling. He did a great job. He made some plays with his legs. He made some great throws, to be honest. The first touchdown we had the play called, and I was like, this might not be what we should be going. I almost called a timeout, and then he had Callan Lucas up the pipe for a touchdown, and so shows what I know. I'm glad I didn't call the timeout. So that was exciting. He did a great job, and he managed the offense. He took care of the football. He's a guy that's doing a really good job, and I think he's got a bright future for us.
To have that is not necessarily a luxury, but it's okay. This is something we can work with. You've actually got it on tape. How big a deal is that?
Well, I think it's good. It adds a little bit different dimension. He's a guy that we've looked at using in different special packages. You have a little bit of a concern because, you want to make sure you have a backup quarterback that's healthy. You don't want to use him in too many wild situations that could get you in trouble. But he adds a different dynamic. He's got a little bit of a speed, a little bit of craftiness that catches people off guard for how he plays. Now, I had to give him a little bit of a hard time yesterday because it sounded like on the TV broadcast when he got into the game, the announcers, I think we're trying to compliment Jack and by saying that, wow, when Timmy gets in here, it really gives you an appreciation for how good Jack Strand is. So, I think Tim was kind of maybe little put off by that. So he's got a little more of a chip on his shoulder. So I think
if that's not a backhanded compliment, I don't know what is on that.
Yeah. Got a little fire lit under Timmy, which is good.
We had described the Saturday was for the Laqua family. Your daughter had a monster game in volleyball as well, it sounded like, huh?
Yeah, that was awesome. It was her first full collegiate game that she played from start to finish, and she did fabulous. And, as a player that came as a walk-on that's just been trying to scratch and get a chance and get an opportunity and then play really well in her second year and see that team succeed. They've struggled, and so to have them come out of the weekend with 4 wins, I think it's super awesome. I was up in the press box trying to follow the game cast of it until it got to the 4th set, so I didn't get to see the 5th set, and I had to I just texted. I said, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but really proud of your resiliency and what you've been doing. And so luckily enough, we get down there, we finish warm-ups. I'm walking the team into the field house and there's about a 10-minute break. And then my parents come running by me because they're trying to get into the game. They were staying and listening to watching Leah play. And so they in on how the game went. And so it's nice to know that the Dragons got a win.
Were you able to talk with her after when you were done with the game, your game on Saturday night?
Yeah, I was able to give her a call while we were outside.
Awesome.
Guys were in the locker room. I left the locker room, got a call with her. She was with her teammates still. They were driving to go eat. And so it was kind of a special moment of, a successful evening where I think everybody's supporting each other, in the family. You want to see people succeed. And so she was glad that we succeeded. We definitely were glad she succeeded.
Before we go here, it looks like weather's going to be dynamite. Hope for a big crowd before the Bison play later so people can double dip and go see you guys play and then go up to the Dome if they want.
You can definitely double dip. It's going to be warm. I think it's 78, feels like temperature at kickoff, so noon. It's going to be awesome. I think for people that haven't maybe watched this, you'll see a lot of great local football players. And if you want to see guys that play inspired football and play, in a way that I think has an underdog mentality, it's pretty impressive. And if you just want to flat out watch good quarterback play, there's going to be some good quarterback play on, and it's an exciting thing to watch.
I know as a football coach, I know you're in the submarine, but last night, as the Vikings game's playing out, as a head coach, how difficult is it not to overreact when you're seeing your quarterback, like McCarthy struggled early on, and obviously KOC sticks with him, and we see what happened. But we're sitting and overreacting as fans to every single play. How difficult is it as a head coach to stay even keel, knowing he can make it? We got to, the plays will come.
Well, you rely on the body of work over the course of time, right? There's not one drive, one game that maybe makes the difference. If it's been proven over a course of mini camps, spring balls, fall camps, like you trust the data points that have been out there, and you've got to have the wherewithal to kind of ride out the storm. This is a game of ups and downs, and there's variance that plays out. And so I think, that as a coach, Gus Bradley would always say, never too high, never too low. It's never as good as you think, never as bad as you think. And that's something I've tried to take with me in life and in football. And I think our guys probably roll their eyes every time I say that to them, but I think it's really important. And I think, that's how you get sustained success. You come in on Monday, and it shouldn't feel different if you won or lost. Let's evaluate the game. Let's make changes. Let's go. Hey, we're not going to get a stop every drive, so let's not fall apart if we don't. We're not going to score every drive. Let's just understand it's going to take the steady, just keep chipping away at life, and you'll be fine.
All right, Lat, most important question we save for end, because as you know, there's some some chatter this week. The Bison are wearing white uniforms. I don't know how you feel about that as a North Dakota State alum.
Well, as an alum, there's been some different looks that were not what back in the day, what we had. Our biggest controversy was we were going from the older, like goldish helmets to the yellow helmets, and that was terrible. And I couldn't figure out why that was such a big deal by the old crotchety alumni. And so now that I'm in that space, I don't know that I can really put up. I'm like, hey, you know what? I didn't like it back then, that they didn't like it, so I don't want to be one of those like, well, it's not the way we did it. Let's go with it. And you know what? It's about the products on the field, not really what they're wearing. And so,
okay, well then I got to ask, what are you wearing this weekend though? What are the Drags doing this weekend?
Well, we are. What are we? We are red tops with, I think it's white bottoms.
Okay.
Yeah, it's white bottoms. Red on white, I believe. I'd have to double check that. No, it's red on red.
Oh,
red,
okay.
My fault.
All right. That's a good look. Congrats on the great start. Thanks as always for the time. Good luck on Saturday, okay?
Hey, you bet. Sounds great.
Good to see you, bud. There you go. Steve Laqua joins us each and every Tuesday. Dragons have had a great start to the year. Pulled one out of the fire to start on the road at Northern Michigan. Dominated against Southwest. Think about this, that Strand was named the NSIC Offensive Player of the Week, and he played one half. One half. That's efficient. You could say, Southwest is bad. Let's just say it. We'll call it like it is. They're bad. But Strand in the game, 22 of 34, 319 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. On the season, and this is something we have to keep our eyes on here. This is his first 2 games. 57 of 82, 69% completion percentage. He's thrown for 655 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 3 picks. That's what he's done in the first 2 games. First game and a half, because he didn't even play the second half. I think we have to get it through our thick skulls here. The kid has an outstanding chance to win the Harlan Hill, which goes to the best player in Division II. And he's playing right across the river. I don't think it's been discussed enough. And maybe when we get to October and he's still putting up crazy stats, people are going to be like, oh, the Dragons quarterback's pretty good. Yeah, we've been talking about it for 2 years. Fun stuff to watch. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. Get you ready. We got a busy Sports Tuesday on tap. We'll do that when Hot Mike concludes on this Tuesday after this. All right, wrapping things up here on this Tuesday. Tomorrow you're going to hear from SEMO head coach Tom Matukowicz will join us as they get ready for their first trip to the state of North Dakota. They've never played a Dakota school as SEMO, and they're going to get the challenge with the Bison. So that'll be coming up on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Just saw this come across. The Red Sox are calling up their 6th-ranked prospect. Best name I've heard in a long time. Connolly Early, left-handed pitcher, is coming up for Boston. 2.60 earned run average at 100 innings pitched. What must it be like to have a team call up its top prospects in September? Don't have that here locally. Not sure what they're waiting around here, but Boston is going to do that. Let's get a couple quick emails in before we get to what to watch. Dom, thanks for the opportunity to listen to Claire's amazing story. What a wonderful young lady. May God be with her and her family during her life's journey. Appreciate that. Another in her email. Dom, that was a great interview with Claire. Appreciate her sharing her story. If you missed it, we'll podcast it as we do each and every show, and you can go back and watch a replay of it as well. Really powerful stuff on what she said, going through literally life and death situation. I was just actually texting with her mom here off air that it didn't know it was as dire as it was, and scary, scary deal. As a parent, I just can't even imagine. All right, let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. What to watch is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Again, we've got the Landon's Light Volleyball Invite getting going at 1:30. 4 volleyball matches, all on extra, all outdoors. Shanley and Davies will start it. Cheyenne and South will wrap it up later tonight. Also, we've got volleyball tonight. Wapaton and Central Cass. That's coming up later tonight, 7 o'clock on WDAY 2 for that one. You can also stream it on WDAY+. Also tonight, you've got Twins and Angels. You want to stay up late. The Lynx, their next to last game of the regular season on ESPN against the Caitlin Clark-less Fever and the USA and Japan in soccer tonight at 6:30. Our thanks to Claire Stern, to Mike McFeely, and Steve Laqua. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.